Yeah, typical Monday. Quick recap, kind of taking a deeper dive into the film. Offensively, was pleased didn't turn the ball over. Avoided a couple close ones, but we didn't do that, and so that was improvement. I thought third down again, Aiden operating well on third down to continue some drives. We ended up only having about 8 possessions, scoring on 7 of them, and so like that, again, the penalty side didn't help us. Want to keep growing in that area. Defensively, I do think anytime in this day and age in college football you do pitch a shutout, I mean, that's impressive. And then let alone you score on that side of the ball. Guys played with some real effort. That showed up on tape. Guys running the ball, doing their jobs and all of that. So was pleased there. Special teams wise, Eckley got the one opportunity, but that was a big punt. Didn't have great field position the one time we punted, and he boomed it. Coverage was really, really good. Jonathan Kim had another solid game. The field goal in, and he's kicking the ball out of the end zone. And so that was great to see. And so a lot to like, and then plenty to focus on in areas that we got to improve on. Just keep preaching to the guys. What we put on tape will get exposed, whether it's the next week or 3-4 weeks down the road. And that for sure is going to be true this week. A big-time coaching staff, where we're headed. To a place that I'm sure is going to be full with some energy and things. It really starts with their quarterback. He can beat you in multiple ways, throwing it, obviously running it, and then their run game that attaches to his skill set is tough to defend. So we got a big time challenge this weekend. On the injury front, Gavin, you probably won't see him the rest of the year, which is unfortunate, again, these yearly ones, because he'd been working really hard. He'd overcome some things, started the last couple games for us, so I kind of feel bad for that, but new opportunities for others to get into the game, and we'll kind of see what that looks like by the end of the week on knowing how we kind of work that right guard position into the rotation. And I guess I'd say the last piece, kind of looking forward to being a part of what I think is a really meaningful tradition of the Red Bandana game this weekend. I'll never forget going to the 9/11 Memorial, and so the opportunity for myself, but really this program to be involved in something that I think is really, really cool and meaningful. Looking forward to that part of Saturday night. Questions?
You mentioned about Gavin. Particularly losing 2 guys at the same spot, your top 2 in the depth, I guess. What did you see from Dallas? Because it looked like you played him the rest of the way. Mm-hmm. Was that kind of intentional to get him reps there? And what about some of the younger guys that could maybe kind of bump in behind him?
Yeah, Dallas can. He's gotten in the multiple games here, and so that spot will be, himself. Some of these younger, maybe potentially like Rakeem getting some look there. We're still deciding, even if some of these guys that tackle, move inside. So we're going to try to put the best 5 out there, and by the end of the week, we should have that settled.
I would imagine the one thing you probably want to avoid is moving Tanner off.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Yeah, we don't plan on moving Tanner.
Coach, penalties obviously still an issue, but what does it say about your defense, both those drives when they marched down to the red zone to make those stops when most teams, sometimes you get flustered by penalties and shut down. You did the same against Florida Atlantic. What does it say about your unit?
Yeah, I think they're a resilient group. They respond. Teams are going to make plays. We're playing against good players. We're going to make a mistake or two that helps them move the ball down the field, and guys did bounce back, respond, know that understanding they're not in yet, make them snapping again, and those guys turn them back.
And Boston College, obviously a pretty good non-conference opponent. What's the benefit for scheduling these premier out-of-conference games?
Well, yeah, you schedule these things so far in advance, but I think we got a bunch of respect for that program, that staff, like I mentioned. Count on an atmosphere that will be electric, and I think guys like playing good teams and challenging ourselves, going back on the road. So it's an opportunity and a challenge at the same time.
John, have you crossed paths with Bill O'Brien in your career at any point in time?
I really haven't. Studied some of his tape from his years, whether being a head coach in the National Football League, a big-time program in college, obviously his offensive acumen. So I've seen some of that, but I've not crossed paths.
And as far as, I know it's obviously week by week and, the next game up, but the stretch you have coming up, how much are you eager to see what your team is really made of against, some really quality opponents?
Yeah, I mean, we knew this 12-week schedule has a bunch of good opponents on it. Obviously, our approach is truly focused on the week to week and what we got immediately in front of us, understanding that I just feel strongly that if we're focused on the task at hand, all the benefit of our improvement will help us prepare for those other ones down the road, but we are locked in on really tomorrow's practice.
Coach, you got two programs, kind of a fresh start for both. All things being equal, what do you think are some of the distinguishing characteristics for your team going up against Boston College?
Well, after 3 games, you're learning about your team. I do think, we got a response to us, understanding that, a lot of these games are going to come down to the fourth quarter and winning the thing in the fourth quarter. I give Boston College some credit. They got a couple of nice wins on their resume already. This last weekend, going to a tough place. Missouri's a good football team, and playing toe-to-toe with those guys. And so, year one for kind of both programs, I think it should be a good matchup.
Kind of bouncing off on that, when it goes from, playing Prairie View last week now to on a Boston College, how do you address your team differently about going into a tougher opponent versus kind of last week with an FCS school?
We talked about a little bit of the environment we're going to play. We're not in the friendly confines of our place. We're going on the road. We talked a little bit about that, how we're going to handle that. You think about communication offensively, so that'll be a little bit different. Schemes are always different, especially in college football, week to week, they dramatically can be different. But we're counting on another. We talked about it last week. This week, they're going to have some good players on that field that we got to be ready to battle with.
Jonathan, first time since 2003, Michigan State's had double-digit penalties 3 straight games. You said Saturday you have to coach it better. What specifically can a staff do except preach it?
Well, yeah, you preach it. You got to drill it. Keep on emphasizing. And honestly, these guys want to do it right, and so we got to find a way to take another step. Look at the way we approached it last week, and obviously it showed up again in some facets. Well, let's approach it a little bit different, more emphasis on it. And again, these guys, they want to do it, and I do not want them out there worried about having a penalty, but we got to play smarter, and it's really before the whistle and after the whistle, the ones I'm really hung up on, we got to get those cleaned up.
Jonathan Castellanos, I hope I'm pronouncing that right for him, but their quarterback.
Yeah.
When you've already played a mobile guy in Fancher, does that benefit the defense? And could you sort of compare and contrast?
Yeah, I think that benefits it, but also it's on tape how we defended it with an athletic quarterback. This guy can throw it, though, accurately. Their run game's a little bit different. They do a nice job schematically, and so that's different than what we've seen maybe in week one. But that guy is a good player that is tough to contain, and you give him an inch, he's going to make you pay.
Coach, can you talk about the defensive line play through 3 games and how important they've become to open up other things in the defense? And also against BC, what do you expect there? A pretty physical Boston College team.
Yeah, real physical team. Our D-line has done a nice job at the line of scrimmage. Talked about it. We're playing multiple guys there, which is, I think, that's benefiting us. Rotation, health, just lack of fatigue late in the game. I think guys are pretty fresh, and we're going to need it against this group. These guys can run the ball. They are physical. Gets downhill on you quick, but you can get on the perimeter because of the type of athletes they've got. We're going to have to play 11-man kind of defense against these guys.
Looking at the other injury situation, obviously, Jerron was out. I guess, do you have any update on him? But also the younger receivers like Gates and Isaiah, I mean, when you got a chance to watch that back, what did they maybe provide, and how much does that depth help you heading forward?
Both AZ and Gates, had some catches there, which was nice. They can operate the offense. They know what they're doing, and they've played in these games on gloves status. Well, that'll be kind of the end of the week. We'll see what it looks like, the first couple of days of work. So, I'm optimistic, but you never know how quickly he can bounce back from stuff like that. But he's not long-term, potentially this weekend.
3 weeks in, you're 3-0, which is only perfect on paper, I guess, probably not in your mind. Are you still learning the personality of this team, or what is it? Are you still finding out about this team?
I think, we definitely still learning, and you're learning throughout the whole year. There's been some reoccurring themes. I've mentioned it, kind of the response, the capability to maybe be explosive offensively, but we're not consistent enough to do that, learning with that. I do think this group is enjoying the work, enjoying playing these games together. I think this group values all three phases and everyone's role that it takes to win games, because it is not easy to win games. And obviously, feel fortunate to sit here and have 3 wins.
Joe Rossi's scheme has been described as, or I guess he says a lot, like effort on steroids and just really aggressive, and that's kind of been seen with you guys leading the league in tackle for losses and stuff. Just how much of that has been, the effort that's been put in, and how much of it like opponents, maybe like their offensive line wasn't as strong as what you might face in the Big Ten?
Yeah, I think it's been preached on the effort side, on defense. The way we practice, we want to make it physical and play with great effort. Joe does a great job of describing it as, effort can be a racer, right? Mistakes get made. I'm adding not the right fit, but if we're playing with great effort by 11 guys, it cleans up a lot of things, and that's proven true. And I think these guys enjoy it. They want to play with great effort, and Joe and the whole defensive staff been coaching it that way since day one.
You talked about it in the beginning about just how difficult it is to pitch a shutout in today's college football. Prairie View was able to drive on you a couple times, but you stopped them, obviously missed field goal and then the pick six. What specifically did you see about your defense that was able to keep them off the scoreboard?
Make them earn it. They're going to make a couple of plays, but they still have a belief that they have not scored yet, so we're going to keep making them earn it. Because Prairie View early on, they had a nice couple third down conversions, third and long, that converted. There was no panic on the other side. We'd line up again, and they're not in until they score. And that's kind of been the mentality of that group.
Jonathan, you talked about turnover-free performance, but the one where Aiden's scrambling out to the sideline, can't find anybody, and he just throws it up. Is that something where that's just being young and making mistakes like that, or how do you address that kind of play?
Well, yeah, you address the start. Well, he can't find anyone open. Well, we're not running the correct route, and so we got to run the correct route because there is plenty of space. If the area he's looking for, the receiver's not there. Now, he cannot make a bad play worse, and that's growing pains. And he's a competitive kid and learns from it. We got to do a better job on scramble coming back to him, so he's got an opportunity to not make a mistake. But again, all of us are learning from that one.
Jonathan, when Chuck made that catch 4 yards deep in the end zone, did
Yeah.
you think for a minute, stay there?
Yep.
And when you saw him going in the end zone and Dunnigan and Van Sumeren were there, like could throw a block or get a pitch out or something,
Yes.
what does that say?
It was awesome. Initially, halfway in the end zone, you loved it. Okay, we got the ball, but then he takes it out, and as a group, because you mentioned those two, but Armarian's finishing on the thing and blocks down the field. Again, they don't get in that situation that often, so being smart, right? We didn't have the block in the back or that kind of thing, so it was an exciting play.
I know you'd mentioned about on the other day, guys earning the time that they got. Particularly, I'm wondering about the younger guys. I mean, you saw Denson and Brinson out there, a couple positions where you have some need. You mentioned Rakeem.
Yep.
Pretzloff had some plays. When you look at those younger guys, especially when you went back and watched some of those freshman tapes, one, how did they look? And two, do you feel like over the course of the next few weeks they're going to maybe integrate themselves into the playing group?
Over the next few weeks, or really throughout this season, you can start seeing them, again, their constant state of improvement they're in, this physical game, opportunities might arise for those younger guys. We were pleased with a lot of those guys you mentioned. I think Mekhi Frazier down on kickoff, runs down, makes the play in his first college snap. That was awesome to see. I was kind of pleased, too, of like they functioned out there and knew the scheme, knew the positions where to be. We didn't have a bunch of busts going on, going with the younger group. So we're excited about, just in general, the younger guys, how they've approached it and the opportunities for them moving forward.
Jonathan, before the season started, I think there was probably more curiosity than anything else, and I'm not sure what the expectations were, but now 3 games in, especially with the win at Maryland, do you feel a different level of expectation or just energy, vibe kind of around the program? I'm sure it hadn't changed much within the program.
Yeah, the expectation really hadn't changed much, but I do think there's confidence that comes from having success, going through a work week, and playing a game, I think we've learned that, we got opportunity to play at a high level. We're going to need to do it more consistently. But there's an energy, I'm not going to lie, energy when you win games that definitely helps the building.
Yeah, Jonathan, when you look back at Aiden Childs and what he did on third down on Saturday, compare that to the opener. Is that where he's showing some growth and maybe not going as deep as much, or just in terms of the decisions he was making, the execution with intermediate throws? What'd you see with the third down?
Yeah, I think he's made a step week 1, 2, and then even into 3, because week 2, I think his decision was pretty solid. We had a couple inaccurate throws. Thought he was pretty accurate with it this last week. Recognition of coverage, those guys did it. He prepared well. The plan was pretty solid on third down, and then the guys went out and executed that. It was good to see. So he's taken a nice step. He, even we get called back on penalty, he scrambles for a touchdown. It gets called back. That was a coverage recognition thing that Aiden recognized. They're in 2-man, not counting for the quarterback. He took off. Unfortunately, we got the holding call. So pleased with that growth.
And also to follow up, how much fun is it for you as a coach to have a young quarterback in there that you get back in the film room and go step by step to get improvement?
Yeah, he's fun to coach, and a lot of these guys are, because he wants to keep on improving. He enjoys practicing and preparing. It's a great quarterback room in general. I mean, we kind of mentioned Tommy, how well he plays. He brings a great presence to the room, and there's Alessio coming along. It's a fun group.
Wondering about Raheem Johnson. I mean, is it for a true freshman to be one of your first O-linemen off the bench? So what does that say about him? And position-wise, like long-term, do you guys have an idea? I mean, we see him at tackle. Is he a guard long-term?
We think he could play both, guard and tackle. And yes, he has been coming. He played really well in scrimmages, and so we had some confidence. And now, again, we'll see how this plays out toward the end of the week. But with some of the setbacks we've had in that room, we think he's got some position flexibility at guard or tackle, and you might see him out there some. You might. I haven't decided, but you might.
Jonathan, obviously you focus 1 week at a time. That's where the scout. But I'm wondering how much, if at all, you peek ahead and see games after, see tapes of future opponents. Is that something like have you seen Ohio State play at all yet? Have you seen Oregon play at all yet? Like, how much do you see teams down the road?
Yeah, I actually do. Full disclosure. So, just being new to the league, I have tried to take sometimes early in the week, Sundays and Mondays, to watch a couple of other, people in this league. So, I've seen Ohio State a little bit. I've seen the Ducks a little bit. Seen Iowa a little bit. Watched that game, Iowa State, quickly. So I just want to, familiarize myself with the league. And so I've seen a little bit of those guys. Okay, thanks.